Thank you. Yishar koach for everyone for coming. Good morning, everybody. Boker tov. Big fonts. Bigger than even mine. It's even bigger than mine. Oh, thank you. I didn't get any notice, so thank you for telling me. Please say his name. Ruvain Chanoch Ben? Ruvain Baruch, sorry. Boshem Chanoch. Is it this week?
Tonight.
It's tonight. How many years is it?
4.
Oh my gosh, wow. Okay, this should be for Lilui Nishmato. I remember him, sweet Yid. And you should feel closer and closer to his etzem of his neshama. You, and always remember how much nachas you and your family continue to give his neshama. Thank you. Oh, that's okay. How about is good. That's fine. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. When I say Boker Tov, it's like a tefillah. It's not explained. It's not like literally a description. Because Boker Tov, it's like saying Ani Mamin. Like it's a tefillah, Ani Mamin. Boker Tov. It's not a good morning when there's all these levayas and shiva houses. But Boker Tov, like tefillah, that it should be a tefillah, that it should be a Boker Tov. So, where are we? Where are we going? So, it's basically Esther's fault. Why we're learning what we're learning. It's David's fault. So, what we're going to be learning, I was going to wait, I was going to pace, I was going to grow, I was going to like... Hashem said, no, yalla, hala. Now, we're learning Gula, but like actively learning Gula now. Now we're going into a next stage. After all the years we've been learning about Pnimiyus, Avodas Hashem, and hopefully we'll still have many more opportunities to learn different aspects of Pnimiyut and Avodat Hashem, of learning the mitzvahs, of living the consciousness of everything we're already doing. It's not about learning new mitzvahs and taking on new things. It was actually just, and it will continue to be, to intend to have a closer relationship with all the Torah and mitzvahs we are already doing. That was hopefully the purpose of what we've been doing until now, and what we will, Be'ezrat Hashem, continue to do, Kol Yamei Chayenu, to be closer to everything we are already doing. It's like, I want to be close to kids. You have to have more kids in order to, I mean, you could if that's the Indian, but you have kids in front of you. It's the same thing with our Torah and mitzvahs. It's already what we already have in the home, what we have in our heart. How much closer can we get to them? So, what I've been so nervous about is that the reason I've been stalling with this new world and this new learning that we're going to be doing is because we're dealing with this is like postgraduate. I don't even know what to call it. It's not this. It's up there. It's big stuff. Put it like that. It's big stuff. And I know that we've been touching upon a lot of the aspects of what does it mean to live here in Eretz Yisrael now, v'chulei, and all that. And now we're just going to see it kind of like straight in our faces in a very clear and meyusad, like a pattern. Now I've mentioned his name so many times. And the reason why I'm not telling you all to go and find this book specifically, it's called Kumi Ori, one of Rav Sasson's books, is because over the years, a lot of these ma'amarim have been taken and then put into even more mechuvan sfarim of Rav Sasson that really are cutting through the edge. And he keeps on doing this. He keeps on looking at different ma'amarim he's published, and he keeps on taking them and putting them even more concentrated. So I'm not telling you yet until I find out from them this week, specifically where the Torahs in here, the meat of them have shown up. But for now we have to start somewhere. And that is the Or of the Gula, the light of redemption. Baruch Hashem, we're living in miraculous times that also have with them these stings that I don't wish upon any Yid ever again to taste. But apparently, as much as the light and the miraculous times we're living in are true and are happening, it seems there's still there's an elephant in the room. What that elephant in the room is, I don't know. I don't know exactly what to call it anymore. I don't know what to label it Good morning. Welcome. Hi, good to see you. Welcome. What that elephant in the room is, I'm not so sure. Here, you can come to the side over here. It's Ilana, do you mind killing it's mom, it's always like, I'm so sorry, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. An abundance of light just walked into just came into the room. Good morning. So what that elephant in the room is, whenever we speak about how much we're living in redemption, we're elu dvarim shetzrichim iyun. We have to really look into the eye of it. And God forbid, not wait for horrible Shabbosim like this last Shabbos in order to wake up and be like, whoa, do I really am I really reading the signs or not? Am I reading the signs or not? So this way that we're going to be looking right now about learning Geula, because that's where we are, we're learning the light of redemption, we're learning the light of redemption, I think is going to make a lot of very big concepts clear. Pashut me'od. It'll make it clear. That's one of the reasons why I'm so connected to this Rav's farm. Just all these concepts become clear. And I hope, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to have a lot of atzlacha on this journey. So look inside. Right? Did it reach everybody? There's a few more here? Okay. Ora Geula. And I want you to pay close attention. Even if it's things that you think that you've already heard of or you know to be a truth. It's like, mamash, like the Bilvavi used to tell us, without the solid, infrastructure, without the basis, as much as you want to build a building, without the solid infrastructure, it really won't go anywhere. So let's see how he says this. This is from the Sefer Kumi Ori, from Rav Ruvain Sasson Shlita. Hodu Lashem kitov ki le'olam chasdo, yomru geulei Adonai asher ge'ala miyatzar, ומארצות קבצם ממזרח וממערב, מצפון ומים. הודו להשם כי טוב. Praiseworthy is Hashem because it's good, because His chesed is forever. Yomru geulei Hashem, those that have been redeemed by Hashem. This is from Tehillim. Who have redeemed them miyad tsar, from a narrow hand. Ume'aratzot kibtzam, and we have been plucked and taken and ingathered from different nations, from different lands, all the different corners of the world. Mizrach, Ma'arav, Tzafon, Miyam. Look at this room. Look at this room. Ma'aratzot, this is the Nevuah. Ma'aratzot, look at us. Ma'aratzot, Ki B'Zram. Mizrach, Ma'arav, Tzafon, Miyam. Living prophet. Look at this. So it's not like, oh, what is that going to look like one day? What is it? Just look. Okay? Just look. אילו פינו מלשיר הקיים, אין אנחנו מספיקים להודות לך השם אלוקינו על ניסיך ונפלאותיך שבכל יום עמנו תמיד. We could never, even if our mouths were filled with praise and song, we could never thank you enough for the nisim and the niflaot that you do with us every day. כי רצית השם ארצך שבת שבות יעקב. You wanted your land to be dwelled again with the ingathering of all of your children coming home. And yes, not everyone is home, but yalla, on the way. Are there any olim in the room that made Aliyah the last few months? Yeah? Oh, okay, nachon, okay. Thank you for enhancing our learning already. You'll see what I mean. Are there any olim that made Aliyah in the last 20 years in the room? Thank you for enhancing our learning. Are there any olim that came the last 50 years in the room? Kol mi shepoteach et einav, whoever opens his eyes, umitbonen bana'asa badorot achronim, and you look for a second at what's happening in the last generations. Lo yachol shelo lirot et yad Hashem hanifla'a. You can't help it. You can't not see something massive. You can't. Hanetuya alinu letova, outstretched arm on us letova. Al kach shechzir otanu le'eretz Yisrael me'afrot hagalut, that He brought us back to Eretz Yisrael from the dust of galut. Ubetuvo hagadol mekim otanu litchia. And in his goodness, he resurrects us to be alive, to really be alive. B'chidush yameinu kekedem. We say this every time we put the Sefer Torah back in the Aron Kodesh. Chadesh yameinu kekedem, with renewing the days of old, which we're going to spend a lot of time establishing a really beautiful kavanah now every time we return the Sefer Torah now to the Aron, of what that means. I know it's a very emotional moment. Sefer Torah is going inside. It's usually a good nigun. It's a high moment of davening. Everyone's either preparing for a good drasha or preparing to leave the shul. So it's something in the air, right? Chadesh yamin kekedem, and then something changes. Leneged einenu mitrachesh ta'alich histori adir shegeulat Am Yisrael. In front of our eyes, there's something so big happening of Am Yisrael being redeemed that we can't afford to not remind ourselves constantly that it's in the midst of some kind of process. Because for 2,000 years, if we were to get together in a shir anywhere, in Kovna, in Memphis, it doesn't matter where we couldn't really say, in front of our eyes, something massive is taking place. We'd have to say, deep, deep down in our hearts, we believe that there's a plan. We can't see it, but there's a plan. We can't say, can you and I say that? We're all a living prophecy right now. So how we can't say, we can't see it. We can see something. We can see something. What is it that we're seeing? HaGeula metu'eret beharchava b'Torah u'b'divrei neviim. There's a lot that's explained and described throughout our history, throughout the Torah and throughout the prophecies. ושם מבואר היטב שהשלבים הראשונים של הגאולה יתבטאו בחזרה אל הארץ ובשגשוג החומרי. And there, it's clearly stated that one of the first shlavim, one of the first step, right? One of the first steps of the redemption will be expressed through an actual coming back to the land, ובשגשוגה החומרי. And you're going to build $4 million shuls. Do you know what I mean? Sigsug chomri, meaning you're going to live in $1 million houses. You're going to have basically anything you need on a chomri level, on a materialistic level, right? That's actually part of the Geula. That you really, like I told you, I used to, when we first made Aliyah, my father would schlep back Heinz ketchup for us. The first few years, Heinz. Remember, toilet paper. Tuna fish. I had one of the first Game Boys. I think I told you once. Those of you who remember what that was. Ma'en. What isn't there? What isn't there? Amazon to the house now. Ma'en, right? Now that's actually part of the shlavim of the Geula. That's the beginning stages. That's the beginning. Ach Geula lo tistayim bekach, but that's not the end. That's not okay. It happened. Mashiach is here. It's a nice gesture by Mashiach to send, signs of I'm on my way, but it's not. This is not the end, right? La'achar miken yofiu komot nosafot, and after it gets more or less comfortable to be here. There's going to be additional komot, additional levels of Geula. Shel Geulat HaRuach VaNeshama. That's the mind, body, and soul work. That's the Geula that we are stressing so much here. That's a big, big part of the next shlav of redemption. When the mind, body, and soul now plays a role in the Geula as well. Bahen, Am Yisrael yaskif et komato adira. That means when Am Yisrael will basically be able, when someone says, Lamod zakuf, right? Stand straight. We'll be able, not out of gaiva, but we'll be able to appear for real. The way that what we look like in a natural state of body, mind, and soul. That's part of the Geula. And that's much, much harder than figuring out Amazon and all these other things. That's much, much harder. To look again like we could look in our shoresh, ze kvar sipur acher. That's already a different story. יחדש את ימיו כקדם ובתחילה, בחידוש מקדש ונבואה. When do we really look like we could look like? With the reinstitution of having a Beit HaMikdash, of having prophecy, ובהופעת אור השכינה, and at the Shechina shining bright, bechol hadara ukdushata. That the Shechina, that we don't have to wait for like these moments of like chesed. Oh, I think I'm around the Shechina. It's hovering over us completely. All of us. All of Am Yisrael. I need you all for a second to close your eyes and do a piasetzna visualization with me for a second. Because the Heilige Ish Kodesh, throughout Bnei Machshava Tova, and now what we're learning with the men, Achsharas Avrechim says, when you really want for certain things that you learn to stick with you, and not just that you understand what the words are, you have to tap into the greatest gift that Hashem gave you, called visualization and imagination, which we all have. Now the words, I want you to listen to the words that he said again right now. Hofa'at hor hashchina, the appearance of the light of the Shechina, bechol hadara ukdushata, showing up full on, with all of its glory and all of its kedusha. Now, this is not a guided meditation because it means something else and it appears differently to each of you. That's gorgeous. That's beauty. That's how it should be also, right? But somehow when I allow my mind to use it for imagining, we always imagine the worst things. After last night's horrific attacks, we use our imagination to imagine Khalila what would happen to us, right? Now we have to use our imagination to be like, what does this look like? Reading my kids coming home from school when the Shechina is bechol hadara ukdushata. What does it mean to sit around the Shabbos table with my family? Bechol hadara ukdushata. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does it mean to talk to someone in the presence of the Shechina? Next paragraph. Talich HaGeula klal uchlal lo ba adayin el tachlito. I know this is a little bit of a dagger. To who? To what? Who is this a dagger to? What did he say? The process of Geula has not come at all yet to its finishing picture, right? No, mamash lo. But just because it hasn't come to its completion, it doesn't mean that something didn't start happening. And I think this is the balance we're living in. What does it mean to live in a world where we understand we are living proof that the words of the prophets are taking place, but it hasn't yet come into a completion, right? It hasn't come into a completion yet. תהליך זה אינו מסתיים בקומה הגשמית של עם ישראל, אלא מכוון להחזיר את עם ישראל לשלמותו ולכל מלוא שיעור קומתו. But rather, this process doesn't end with the koma hagashmit, with even physically coming back here, but it's directed towards restoring Am Yisrael to its shlemut, to who we really are, ulechol melo shiur komato, and to standing upright again. Like somehow, somewhere deep down inside, we know how to stand upright again. We just forgot it. And now he's going to say, you could, like they say, you could take the boy out of Brooklyn, you can't take the Brooklyn out of the boy, or whatever, or however you've used that, that terminology. You could take a yid out of Gullus, right? But taking Gullus out of a yid is what we're still very much stuck in. Now we have to, in order to know what we're trying to get out of, we have to also understand what Gullus has done to us. Hagalut mi'ata et kochinu legamre. The amount of strength that we have, right? The amount of power that we truly have, what 2,000 years of exile has done, is that it weakened some of the most natural sources of strength that made us who we are. And I'm not just talking about physical strength here. He's not just talking about physical strength. Talich HaGeula, the process of redemption, mechuvan lehachzir otanu, the process of redemption is a process to restore us to the best health that we could ever achieve. The greatest health, the greatest strength, the greatest completion that we could find in our state of being. Shleimut zo kolelet et kol hamadregot kulam. This shleimut, this state of completion, encompasses within it all the levels in the world that you can think of. Shleimut gashmit, on one hand, physical, materialistic shleimut, liyot ma'atzama kalkalit ubitchonit, to be, how do you say ma'atzama? What's that? Power. Yeah, but there's a specific word, an empire. To be a securely financial empire, which, I mean, look at us. It's really crazy. It's really geuladik. It's really unbelievable. Shlemut musarit, not there yet. An empire of musar, we're on our way, with complete musar. Liot am musari, to be an ethical people. Hamelamed et ha'enoshut kula, darkei musar v'tzedek, that we are here to teach the whole world, to walk the streets of the world with morals, with ethics, with justice, with chen, with rachmanis. Ume'al hakol, but above all, shlemut elokit, liot am kadosh, to be a holy people. Shebo mithalchim nevi'im v'anshei kodesh. That means you walk on the street and you never know which kid that's riding his scooter is actually a little prophet riding around on the streets of Efrat. Right? I actually think that's already happening here, but I'm sure you do too. Anshei kodesh. But in the heart of all this, don't think that this is really possible to show up with its full, in its full, completion, without the source from which all this comes out, and that's the Beit HaMikdash. Makom hashrat hashchina ve'hitgalut ha'elokut, the place where the Shechina resides, and godliness is revealed. Kfi she'ivticha haTorah, va'olech etchem komemiyut. I will lead you back with komemiyut. This is already, now we're going to get a little bit of a touchy subject. Where do we say this? Where do we say these words? Komemiyut le'artzeinu. Right. Where else do we say it? We say it in benching? Where? Oh, in the harachamans, those that, nachon. Where else do we say it in davening? You say this in Shema? In Ahavas Olam Avtanu? Right? V'tolechem ye'era komemiyut le'artzeinu, ki yekel po'el yeshuot ata. So this is actually a word that shows up a lot. A lot. What does komemiyut mean? Upright. Upright. So a lot of people said, listen, you can't say that redemption began after the Shoah, because why? That wasn't komemiyut le'artzeinu. That was like trying to just stay alive, right? Komemiyut le'artzeinu. And therefore, anytime there's a calling to come back to Eretz Yisrael, that it usually comes after some kind of terror or chas v'shalom, something very dark. So there's a voice that says that's not what the Nevi'im were speaking about. They were speaking about komemiyut le'artzeinu, that you come back home like this, right? This is how you come back home. So that's why we have to understand what this word means, komemiyut. Does it mean you come like a gibor when everything is already set up and you're not trying to run away from anybody? Or does it mean maybe something else? And Rav Sasson is going to show us actually the inner meaning of this word. Va'olech otchem komemiyut. He says, what does komemiyut mean? We're on the fourth, the bottom line in this paragraph. Hishtamsha b'milah haromezet l'shtei komot. Komemiyut. That means a bunk bed. Komotayim. 2 floors. Literally. I grew up for years. I have the imagery very strong in my head. I always started, I was older, I always started on the top. Yeah. It wasn't like one day I'll get to the top. V'ishtamsha b'milah haromezet l'shtei komot. You have my bunk bed, right?
Well, not anymore, but we did buy it.
The Deutsches bought our bunk bed. That's right. In 1990.
5, maybe.
Mamish. Avram told me this year, I couldn't believe it. He actually came to me before I was living here. He came to a concert that I did. And I remember him telling me in Tzorah, in Club Tzorah in Beit Shemesh, Right. He used to come to the concerts and he said to me, "Yeah, this is great. I want you to know my kids sleep on your bed." I remember him. והשתמשה במילה הרומזת לשתי קומות. So the Torah uses dafka, a word that's talking about two komot. קוממיות, קומה גשמית וקומה רוחנית. Again, coming back to Eretz Yisrael, and the Shechina being all over the place, but you live like a schlepper, that means there's a whole element of the Geulah that's missing. The fact that we here are living the way we are now, right? Like, for the most part, like physical mensches, right? With basically, any coffee you need? It's here, right? Literally here, right? It's all here. Like, look, that's part of Geulah, actually. The fact that it's all here, that we have, that's part of it. יפה. שהן בוודאי כוללות, but these both קומות, גשמי ורוחני, שהן בוודאי כוללות מדרגות רבות של גאולה, ובניין בגשמיות, וגאולה ובניין ברוחניות. We're here to build ourselves physically, materialistically, and we're also here to build ourselves spiritually. Those are the words of the prophecies. הגאולה איננה רק שינוי סביבתי. Redemption is not just external environmental change. של תנאי החיים החיצוניים, that I once lived in the shtetl and now I live like a king. בזכותו אנו יכולים להשתחרר מעול הגויים, and בזכות of Eretz Yisrael, I don't have any foreign sovereign over me. לבוא מארצות הנכר אל ארץ ישראל ולחיות בה חיי חירות. That I come here to live free. You can see already where he's touching upon. What's the anthem? How does the anthem end? להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, right? Man, if there could only be an opportunity for all of Am Yisrael to say, let's like learn the pnimius of the concept of chirut, we would change a lot of the words, even in the anthem, we would change it. He's saying that's not really called geula. That's a move. It's hopefully a better life. But you don't move to Eretz Yisrael to have a better life. You move to Eretz Yisrael to play part in a bigger picture of fulfillment of prophecies for many, many years. הגאולה מתרחשת גם ובעיקר בעומק הנפשות, הרוחות והנשמות. Where does Geula really take place? Geula takes place in the depths of our souls and of our spirit. It really is. That is why you can have Yidden that don't live here, that they're really, I know, hundreds if not thousands, that don't yet live here, but they really are Geula Dika people. They really, truly, truly are. Because the work that they're doing in their soul on who they are with the light of today, granted, it's limited just because of the teva of where you're physically supposed to be located for these lights to appear full on, but the light that's in my chevra, I'm sure your friends too, such amazing, incredibly in tune and intuitive individuals that are working so hard on themselves and doing such beautiful things. This is part of the light of Geula shining forth in the world.
Just want to add that they also have a role where they are in both, wherever it is, spreading the word, spreading Ahavat Yisrael. And I was amazed one Shabbat that I was in Tina Jersey. I heard about there. I said, amazing that he's here. He's so inspiring. He's so getting it together. And I say he has a chart here. And many people made Aliyah from there also. So,
Listen, you don't have to. My Rebbe lives in New York, which is such an interesting inner thing that I go through every single day with thinking about that and having to speak to a lot of people about that reality. But the thing is that we're talking about us here. Like that's what I want to focus on. Like Hashem has a plan for each person. It's really about those of us that are here. What's the avoda? Like, not what their avoda is. What's our avoda? That's really what it is. So he says over here that a Yid that came to Eretz Yisrael and wants to know, like, am I living a Geula? Am I really in the process of Geula? has to answer the following question. Can I point at any shifts in the way that I live my life since moving here that don't only have to do with shifts that have due to the different nature of the country, right? But internal shifts that are taking place inside of consciousness, of specifically my relationship with anything that matters, which is my relationship with God, my loved ones, and the Torah and mitzvahs. Has anything shifted? Would my Yiddishkeit be the same, more or less? What's that?
And it's Israel, the land itself.
I'm not even going there yet. I will get there, but I'm not even getting there yet. That's for sure. But I still want to keep someone included that's not physically here yet to feel like they're part of the parsha. Ad gvul mesuyam. My own being here. What about my Yiddishkeit? What about all the stuff, all the good chinuch I got my whole life before I came here? How is it here? How does it show up here? In what manner does it show up here, right? How beautiful is it here? What happens to it here, nachon? So, now he says like this, what did Galut do to us all these years? We're about 6 lines from the top of this paragraph. Hagalut, 4 lines from the top. Kol revadei ha'chaim shel Am Yisrael holchim v'shavim el briutam v'gadlutam. All the different revadei ha'chaim, all the different levels of life of Am Yisrael return to their healthy and natural spot through the process of Geula. Hagalut dildela me'od et hanefashot. So Galus took our souls and its potency and dildelota. It made it very meduldal. Wow, I have to bring a dictionary to this year. It diluted it, yeah. Tzimtzemat haruchot, it contracted the spirit. V'silka lameromim et or neshamot. And the light of our neshamas, it said, go back up there to heaven. Just survive in Galut. It can't work for you here like this. בתהליך הגאולה, the process of redemption, מכוון להחזיר את הרעננות והאיתניות לכל אלה. The process of redemption is geared towards restoring the strength and the awakening of all of this. להשיב את כל ההוד הזה אל שלמותו. To restore all of this glory to its completion. Like we came back here to be part of a process where we become individuals that are really, I mean, I'm almost said perfect, but you hear where we're going with this, to a new breed of a person, like mamash, a bunch of Nevi'im and Nevi'ot walking around. This is living the Geula in the inside of it. Ruach HaGvura, 5 lines from the bottom. רוח הגבורה של אותן דמויות מפלאות שאנו מוצאים בתנ"ך, ועוד יותר מזה. You read a story about Dvorah HaNeviah. You read a story about David HaMelech. And it doesn't feel foreign to you. It actually feels very much at home. You actually relate very much to the story. Look, what did Galus do to you? Let's talk tachlis, okay? For many of us growing up, the effect of Galus was that I, as a kid, felt much more relatable or related to Rocky, to Sylvester Stallone, than Yaakov Avinu. What is the result of that? Like, how does that happen? Like, how does that happen? It's because at a certain point, our generations and generations, what did they have to work with in terms of like showing how relevant David HaMelech is to the guy that's just trying to make it, trying to get it through the day? So I read the Haftarah, I have a little bit of an acquaintance with him. But what was in front of me and what exhilarated me and what excited me were these things, right? I think what he's saying is, coming back here, you have guys like Ari and Jeremy, they actually are more excited about, like, thinking about Amos Hanavi than any of the figures that excited them growing up. Why? Because they are living that life. We're hopefully living that life to a certain extent too. These guys are mamish. They feel more acquainted with David HaMelech. Mamash. And it's an amazing like piece of seeing Geula coming to light. Yes.
I have an example of the youth. I don't know,
really, 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 really stressful moment, a hard tutor, and then they were running. They're like, oh yes, now I get to learn Torah, right? From one of the shiurim that we have, and I was like, well, what? But that's just like that's where after they've been through so much stress, that's where they go for reprieve, and I think that's
Geula.
Gula.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think everyone agrees with you about that one. I think that's huge.
And it's not they're running to go watch your favorite TV show. It's like they're running to go learn Torah.
It's an incredible thing. You know, last night up here, I couldn't believe it. Like, you know, there's this parent-child learning that happened. There's so many different ones here. But after Shabbos, who has koyach after Shabbos, right, to do anything, right? So you want to say it's the pizza? I don't think it's the pizza. But the shul upstairs was packed with parents and children every Motzei Shabbos, 45 minutes after Havdalah. And then the Goodmans, the tzaddikim, send over here like 8 pies of pizza. And the place is packed with parents and kids running to learn together after a whole Shabbos of like, you know, being frum and everything. Like
My kids are still running to the TV, but
each person their own. The fact that there was like more, it's unreal. But taking advantage of the opportunity again, it's unreal. All these little pieces of the puzzle are pieces of a picture of coming of the komotayim, of the higher bunk bed, literally of the high. I guess maybe in some places you graduate to the bottom bunk bed, whatever it is, to the next level. But that like figures we learn in Tanakh, they really like play a role in our life. Like they really excite us.
But these also different because when I was in America, you go like a science museum on a trip. But here, like if you really know, like if they're going to the places that we read about in Tanakh, like that's insane to me. Like, it's like
insane.
I look at it like, do you know how special this is? That's what it's in the air. I think like we've switched to almost everything being Jewish calendar. It's like I'm not January 3rd anymore. Like we sort of like have shifted. I changed my name. Like there's something here that's different. We really can't. I can never in America be like, oh, 27 of Tevet. Like I my new person.
Right.
But it's
yeah, it's in the air.
And you can't get America no matter what.
Yeah, it's in the air. Now you could though. What's interesting is that you could. This is the game though. You could stay like that though here all the time, also. But you've opened your heart and you've opened your beautiful family's awareness towards shifting towards that thing that's happening over here, and that's unbelievable. Meaning you could stay with that galut mentality here. You could. But Baruch Hashem, there's been a shift. I never celebrated my Hebrew birthday till maybe I was like 25 or something like that. But it's not no one's fault. This is what we did. It's not oh God, we were such Rishayim. Not Bitom. No one did.
Because when you filled out the forms, they didn't want
to. Right. No one did. I don't know any of my friends that ever celebrated the Hebrew birthday growing up. None of it. But really, like, why not? It's just the world we're living in. But even like part of like a Hebrew birthday, which may seem like such a small example, it's not. It's huge.
Living with the time, it's our first mitzvah.
Yeah, it's on our ID.
On our yeah. It's our first mitzvah to be aware of our time. Like,
it's unbelievable.
So I have a cute story. So in Quebec, we had to, in the yeshiva, we had to have the government inspector come in all the time in order to get our renewal of our school license. And the French Catholic woman came upstairs to our section French class, and she asked one of the boys, when's your birthday? And he said, Chaf Badar. And she was like looking at me like, what? So I had to explain, we have 2 birthdays.
All these things of identifying with a Jewish calendar, with biblical heroes, all these things are part of the second phase of coming back home. It's all part of it. It's all plays, and they're very significant, even if it seems like little things. They're actually very, very significant things. Madrigot, 4th line from the bottom. Madrigot shel nevuah veruach hakodesh shayu chazon nifratz beimei Beit HaRishon. All these different levels of prophecy and ruach hakodesh, which were basically by swimming in the streets in the days of Beit Rishon. Kol ele avdu lanu bagalut hakasha. All of this. All the things we spoke about that now we're trying to reclaim, working hard on, but all of this were lost to us already by the Churban Bayit Rishon, by the first Churban Bayit. We were learning with the men last week that, 140 years before the Bayit Rishon was even destroyed, the Melech of Ashur was one that sent out the Shvatim that were the other side of the Jordan, those that, right, Reuven, Gad, and Chetzi Shevet Menashe. He already sent them out into exile. So already 140 years prior to the burning of the first Beis HaMikdash, we already started to taste like, oh man, lehavdil elef havdalot. Just shows you how the Gullus mentality is still there. There's a singer that died last week. I loved him very, very much. Not him at all, actually. I loved his music, right? I loved his music. Yeah, David Crosby. I have friends writing Hespedim. Gadol Hador left us. I saw him the first time with Menachem. Menachem Dvir and I went to go see him the first years and years. I loved it. It was great. It was great music. But he has a song called "If I Could Only Remember My Name." That wasn't because of the Shekhinah leaving, or you know what I mean. That's just because a lot of things were inserted into the brain and into the body that he couldn't remember his name at a certain point in life, right? But if we could only remember our birthday, our name, our identity, it's a struggle we're doing for thousands of years already. It's not like a new thing, right? This is happening already for a long time. The fact that any of us even cares about a Hebrew birthday, a Hebrew name, a Hebrew biblical figure to emulate should be enough to bring Mashiach. Mamish. And that's the quest, that's the inner question that we have going on inside. It's like, Shem Yisbarach, isn't it the biggest pele in the world that any of us even care or are even trying to work on ourselves this way? Isn't it enough for shouldn't it be enough that one of us is just trying hard to get it together and to restore this Kedusha within our lives? It's such a pele. If you stop for a second and go back to the room for a second, just look around the room and see people that have just tried so hard and worked so hard to live Geula Dika lives. Each one of you, in accordance to the level that you're at, you can mamish blow your minds away like crazy thinking about it. It's so unbelievably amazing and inspiring. And in the heart of a Yid that's crying for Geula, he's looking up, she's looking up and saying, what else needs to happen? What else needs to happen? How could it be? Now, not to ask it with anger, but to really ask it what else needs to happen? Like Hashem Yisbarach, isn't this blowing your mind? Look at this. Look at all of us coming home. Look at all of us working so hard. What else needs to happen? What else needs to happen so we don't wake up so we don't check our pocket computers Motzei Shabbos and one of my kids ran into our room in the middle of the night twice last night. Nightmares. I thought we hid it from them. Can't anymore. It doesn't work. Kol eila avdu lanu bagalut hakasha vehen tzrichot lashuv eleinu. Rav Sasson says, these things, they have to come back to us. This way of being, this way of walking down the street with Shekhinah popping out of my forehead, right? With light, immense light, clarity of who I am. He says, this has to come back to us. Why? Because Hashem promised. Like God promised us through His prophets. So we'll just finish this מאמר. אומנם התהליך ניכר בעיקר בשינוי החיצוני של רובד הגוף. It's true that this process is most recognized and seen when the exterior looks like it's going through a change. אבל הוא מתרחש ללא ספק גם במעמקים. ברבדי הנפש והרוח והנשמה. The thing is that why do we say keep on making Aliyah? Because if you just make Aliyah to be here and you're under the impression that Mashiach came, it's going to really stink for the next generation. Really bad. וזאת כמו בתהליך לידה של האדם. Just like when a person's born, third line. שבתחילה מתפתח בגופו, in the beginning, Baruch Hashem, our Nachman is second birthday is Be'ez Hashem tomorrow night. You see it developing. Baruch Hashem, the body develops, right? But it's really later on that the nefesh and the ruach has the development taking place. Ken hu tahalich hageula. Saying it's the same thing regarding redemption. In the beginning, you notice a baby, a kid that's 18 months to 36 months is like, what's going on over here, right? Can you imagine if we could detect that with neshamas? Spirit, like, where you're holding is like an 18-month-old, and then you could actually detect, wow, I can't believe how big you got. Can you imagine saying that to someone? Without insulting them, obviously. I can't believe how much you've grown, right? To actually say that to people. But he's saying in a Geula consciousness, in a Geula society, in a Geula community, we would be our noses would be so like in the right place. We could sense these things so strong that we could say it about others and about ourselves. Wow, just like you'd see it by the changing of a physical development of a toddler, you would say the same thing about the spiritual development of any person that's living a life of Geula. Now, I just want to say, it would be completely inappropriate for me to say that to any person individually. I'm just going to say, kichlal, it's very easy for me to say that to almost everyone I get to learn with. But you could say it to each other. You could see it in each other. And it's important to point it out. And I think you do, and I just want to encourage to point that out in each other even more. The nekudot tovot. Where you notice someone like, wow, like to stop for a second, like, this is not the same kind of conversation we had 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. Point it out. Make notice of it. It's how we encourage each other. With the men, we also need a avodah with this as well. We really have to, we got so accustomed to being with each other and experiencing great things together, but to point it out is very, very important. Okay, so fourth line, Kach matzinu b'tziat Mitzrayim. Amazing, it's the parshas we're in. This is how we see it with leaving of Egypt. Shebitchila yatzanu begufeinu. In the beginning, we physically left. No one was like quoting Tosfos and the Ritva when they were leaving Egypt, right? No one's telling you Reb Nachman Sipuri Maisias when they're leaving Egypt. There, you ran out of there. You physically got saved, nachon? Yatzanu begufeinu. We physically left. V'rak le'achar miken. It's only later. Hitpatachnu benafsheinu v'ruchenu b'sfirat ha'omer. Then there was these 7 weeks of like massive spiritual development till we got the Torah, and then just working on that since then. Ba'anu asukim b'tikun midot hanefesh. So during Sfirat Omer, then we're working on the spiritual growth, all the different midot, chesed, gvura, tiferet, netzach hod yisod malchut, ubema'amad matan Torah, and then in Matan Torah, bo zachinu lekomat haruach. What happened in Matan Torah? After we physically left Egypt, and then for 7 weeks we spiritually developed, you know what happened? Komemiyut. I stood up straight. The way I carried it was only for like a second, because a second later we were already messing around with Egel Azav and everything, but at least there was a moment in time where I was so healthy. I was me. I was me. You were you. We were complete. Right? So it happened. The Baal Tanya writes this. It happened, there were only 2 times in the history of the world where there was like this complete state of health. It was Adam and Eve before they ate from the tree, and Am Yisrael at Matan Torah before Chet HaEgel. And Moshe Mashiach is going to be that we're back to who we really are, standing up straight. He says that's what Matan Torah was, right? Ubema'amad Matan Torah bo zachinu lekomat haruach. And then he ends here and he says, V'chen hu gam talich ha'geula ha'achrona. This will also be the final redemption. Shemitkadem behadraga v'na min hachutz el hapnim. That is happening behadraga, stage after stage, and it's happening from the outside to the inside. Because we're first on the outside, physically, maybe making a movement towards where we belong. But with that now comes the spiritual movement towards where we belong. Right? Na min hachutz el hapanim. Mi binyan hakoma gashmit, from the physical building structure, ve'ad shichlul ubinyan hakoma ruchanit. And now we're developing and building the spiritual state. Al ken, תהליך זה התחיל בקיבוץ גלויות ובניין הארץ. How did this process of Geula begin? In gathering of exiles. The physical building of the land. I don't know who was here on Shabbos that heard Rabbi Chill before Musaf. It was unbelievable how he gave a whole drasha on basically using, it's a long story, just an amazing concept of how we build Eretz Yisrael, how we built the Mishkan, how we built Eretz Yisrael, and how we're going to build the Beis HaMikdash. It was unbelievable. Ach tzadim nosafim omdim lefanenu, but there's still more steps that are before us. A lot of steps. Hein b'shleimus hakoma agashmi shel Am Yisrael. There are still a few Jews that are not yet living here in Eretz Yisrael, right? Right. A little bit. Vehen bevinyan hakoma ruchanit im kol madjagotea, and also with the spiritual growth and all of its different madregot. Gam hamashberim shekayimim bador, and the mashberim, the crisis that happened in our generation, hakshayim v'ateltalot, shorsham b'madregot habaot shetzrichot leofia. The root of all the crisis that we're going through, we're going to discuss the root of any crisis that this generation is going through in the realm of the Geula, not in the realm of something came out of nowhere, but in the realm of how it comes in the Geula. Ki ze klal gadol. This is a real important principle. שהשלמות העתידית מסבבת את הקשיים בהווה כדי לדחוק את המציאות להתקדם ולהוציא הפועל את השלמות הזאת. He's saying the future completion, the completed state of Am Yisrael, it's all surrounding the difficulties that we're experiencing right now in order to push out the reality that we're faced with and to bring out a new, real, big state of reality. Just like a woman. Again, weird saying this as a man, but you know what I'm saying? Just like a woman that's in the reality of labor has to push out to change the state of her reality at that moment to bring something new in the world. And like Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Berditchever, I think he said about the kinos, we say when we get up on Tisha B'Av, when we finish the keynote and we get up, it's already Chatzot Hayom. So we say, Eli Tzion ve'area kmo isha betzirea. Yerushalayim is like a woman with her birth pangs, right? In that state, transition, right? Same thing. Yerushalayim is the same thing. We're somehow willing to endure the pain because we know that the only thing that can really mashlim the picture of this type of labor pain, of 2,000 years of labor pain, is not national independence. It's Mashiach. It's Geula. It's Beis HaMikdash. It's prophecy. It's all the things that we've cried and given our lives for thousands of years. Al ken, second to bottom line, Gam ba'itbonenut amuka el ksheyei ha'avaya. Rav Sasson says, I know you're thinking. You think I'm detached from all the hardships that are happening here, and I'm wondering, how come you're all not just becoming spiritual rebbes and rebbetzins? He says, Napitom. He says, of course I'm looking in the eye and the heart of the difficulties of this door, of the crises that are taking place amongst our generation and with our children. Of course I'm looking at it. But I'm looking at it through the lens of a bigger picture of Geula and seeing how every hardship, the main hardships that we're really dealing with in this generation, is part of something bigger that's about to take place. But we have to adjust our mind and our soul to relate to the hardships of today, not like a Galut Jew, but like a Geula Jew. If I relate to the hardships of today with a Galus mentality, then I see no connection between why things are so hard and what's happening in the world. But when I relate to the hardships of today with an Eretz Yisrael mind and soul, then I can go through the crisis of whatever it is this door is going through like a winner, and bring Geula into the crisis itself. Nuchal lezahot, last line, we could identify and detect nitzanei hamadregot ha'atidiyot shetzrichot liitgalot bekirbeinu, we can begin to detect the sprouts of the future levels which will become revealed within. The avoda keeps on being inside, inside, inside. So what I love, love, love so much about every word that he says is that he's taking the decision we made in life to be here to the next level. He's taking everything that our lives are dedicated to, and he's going to clarify how this works in a bigger picture and how to detect, I may be here, but did Galut come schlepped in the suitcases with me? Right? I may be here, but how much of Galut did I pack and did I put in my lift? And I'm not talking about screens. That's not what we're talking about here. I'm talking about the way that I experience life, the galut of the way of my relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and with being a Torah Jew, with celebrating a Torah life, celebrating every aspect of my life, to really be Geula Jews. And then you know what would happen when? Can you imagine if everyone that was here really detected the galut that's within them, called it out, attacked it, and was able to implement a Geula mentality through the crisis of the world and through whatever crisis we're going through? You wouldn't have to preach Aliyah to anyone. You know why?
So much light.
Huh? Because there'd be such a ribui or. You wouldn't have to preach anything. Forget about only moving here. You wouldn't have to preach anything to anybody. Your being, the way you carry yourself, komaz kufa, like this, would have everyone saying, that's what I want. That's what I want to give my kids. You wouldn't have to work so hard on the diburiada, all the comment section in social media would, imagine that. That's Geula. If that's not Geula, I don't know what it is. We should be zocheh to stay close to our decisions we already made in life and have Hashem grant us the zchut to really believe in all the dreams He has for us. All of them, the individual and our families and all of Klal Yisrael.